Hey guys, it's Julia. Welcome back to my channel. I've done a video before talking about like my bare bones essential makeup products, the ones that I can really depend on just to work whenever I reach for them. These are not that. I figured I would do kind of the converse to that video, which is 12 makeup products that I feel like are very high maintenance. They're difficult to work with, or they have a specific technique that they need to be used with. Otherwise, they just don't work at all. A lot of these I actually really do still enjoy. Just because a product is high maintenance doesn't mean it's like bad to me. Some of them, they're just really like difficult or finicky to work with, but they do give off a really beautiful end result. So I thought I would round up all the high maintenance products I have in my collection and just share them with you guys because they deserve a little bit of extra love. And I also want to share some of the tips I've found to make these work, just in case you found these to be a complete fail for you. You might be able to use them in a certain way and maybe get them to work for you. It's kind of crackheaded video idea, but I hope you guys enjoy it. As usual, full details of this very lavender pastel makeup look should be already on Instagram. And yeah, I'm Renata Bliss and I'm your freestyle dance teacher. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let's get into it. The first product that I want to talk about is kind of what inspired this video in the first place, and it's the first thing I thought about when I was like, what are some products that are just really like piss me off sometimes? And that would be the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Gel. I love the Dip Brow Pomade. It's always been my holy grail brow product, and even this I feel like is sometimes more high maintenance than say like a pencil, just because that you can just kind of go through your brows, whereas this you have to take the time to find a nice brush, do hair light strokes. And I was very excited because it seemed to be everything that I wanted for my fluffy feathery brows that never existed in the first place. This is basically a very strong hold brow gel, so it really does keep your brows in place, but it's literally so pigmented. So even though it's a brow gel, which you should just be able to like swipe on and go, you have to be very careful with how you place this one because it dries down. So if you get this on your skin, game over. It's done. It's over for you. This can be such a bitch to work with sometimes, so I've really tried to find the best way to use this one, and the way I've been using it is actually using it kind of like a mascara. So I take the product and I kind of just make sure there's like almost nothing on the brush, and that is how I get enough product that I can go in, get that nice tint to my brows. Or if this is the only product I'm using for the day, I'll just make sure I'm getting a very light, like feathery brow effect, and then if I need to, go in with a little bit of brow pencil or a little bit of pomade afterwards to just fill in whatever gaps I miss. But it does come with quite the learning curve, and it's honestly just sometimes so difficult to use that I just like don't reach for it. So I do love the fact that this gives like the most perfect Instagram feathery brows. It just takes a while to get there, if that makes sense. Next high maintenance product that came to mind is something that's a bit of a controversial release, but the Patrick Ta Major Glow Highlighting Mists. These caused quite the buzz because everyone hates them, except for me apparently. Love that for me. These are basically like an aerosol highlighting mist, so very similar to like the Morphe Prep and Set spray. It's a basically continuous spray mist, which I love me a good liquid highlighter. Wasn't sure how I was going to feel about a mist one. It seems very easy to use when he does it, of course, but the first time I tried this out, I was like, wow, there's highlighter all over my face. That's great. Because it is such a fine and free-flowing mist, it's very hard to control where you put it, so I really only wear this on days when I don't care if my entire face looks shiny. So if I'm doing like a very nice no makeup look, or if I just want my skin to look wet and dewy and glossy and just take this, I'll hold it about like maybe half a foot from my face. Try and target it around this entire like outer edge of my face. It does really like create this beautiful glazed effect, and it will get highlighter in places that maybe you wouldn't necessarily aim your highlighter if you're using like a powder or even a cream. Personally, I like that look. I like having that nice like glossy shine all the way around the outer edge of my face, but if you don't like that, you probably won't like this one. I've seen some people trying to make it work by using it with a brush, spraying it onto their brush. I think that's a good approach. For me, that's a little bit wasteful just because it is a spray product and you are like losing quite a bit of product if you do use the brush. So for me, I like using it direct out of the can if I want a very insanely dewy wet effect. But the first couple times I tried this, I was like, am I on crack? Do I just not know how to do makeup anymore? Okay, cool. I have a vaguely unpopular opinion about the Hourglass Vanish liquid foundation, and it's that I like it. And I'm sorry, but that's my opinion! I think this is probably easily one of the most hated foundations of 2019. There's almost like an aggressive amount of coverage in here, to a point where people were trying it out using their normal amount of foundation, which for most people is around like 2 pumps. For me, it's 1 pump. I used 1 pump the first time I used this one, and I looked like I was wearing a literal mask. It was disgusting. They pack such a huge amount of coverage into a very small volume of product that you really only need half a pump or even less, which is hard to get that nice small amount of product. Even now when I try to use it with half a pump, I'll like squirt out a little bit too much and have to take it like halfway down my neck. Layering excess product of this one on really does look pretty gross. So once I figured out that you really only have to go in with a tiny amount, I've been really enjoying how this one looks on the skin. Right now it's a little bit dry for me just because my skin has been going through it recently. I thought summer in California would really treat my skin well just because normally during the summer months you do get a little bit oilier, but I forgot that I live in a desert. My mind. It's also 60 degrees outside. I don't know why.
The ocean is full of plastic.
I really do love how this one looks on the skin. Honestly, once you figure out the like good technique of using this one, I think it's actually fairly easy to use, but getting there was a bit of a struggle for me.
And
I will forever be a subculture apologist. Like, I love this palette. I'm not sorry about it. She's beautiful, and she's my daughter, and she's a bitch. She's grungy, she's moody. Sometimes she looks really beautiful in the eyes, and sometimes she just refuses to work. Subculture is every teenager ever, basically. I feel like I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, and when I do now, it's more positive, because I feel like a lot of the people who hated this palette just like decluttered it and stopped talking about it, whereas the people who love this palette from the start and will forever stand this palette consistently talk about it. Abby Williamson, every other subculture stan ever. Let's band together. Yes, the formula can be a lot to work with sometimes. These are the most pigmented shadows ever that I've ever tried. You go in with a very small amount of product to get a very intense color payoff. If you go in with too much, it's going to be very difficult to blend out, especially of the Merit. These are darker shades, so those just by habit are harder to blend out. Even though the formula can be a lot to work with sometimes, I think the color payoff that you get and the richness of the shades just really does make up for it. I've created some of my like favorite, most intense, most like deeply rich colored looks with this one. Like my YouTube profile picture is a look that I created with this palette, and honestly I don't reach for it as often as I should, given that I stand this palette so hard. It's just because yes, it is a more difficult palette to work with. It's very high maintenance. You have to take your time blending, but I think that I enjoy on a day that I'm feeling more artistic. I don't mind sitting down and taking a little bit of extra time on my eye look just to perfect everything. It is a palette that you do have to kind of like sit down and like think things through with. Even though it is difficult to work with at times, I still love it because it's my baby. Whew, blast from the past. I have not talked about these in a while because I have decided to not buy from P. Louise anymore for the assortment of problems on the screen right now.
What will you learn? What will you learn? That your actions have consequences!
My Holy Queen Samantha Robin doll has relentlessly dragged the P. Louise bases, and I don't fully agree. Like, I do definitely agree that these are very thick bases, and while I don't outright hate them as much as she does, I appreciate them for what they are, which is very thick bases to make your eyeshadows really pop and be very like, and be a very like tacky, sticky base. I do think they are very high maintenance, especially the way that the company promotes using them. P. Louise Makeup Academy promotes this kind of technique of patting on the base and really like taking a really long time to just tap it out with your brush. I mean, sure, if you want to spend 25 minutes evening out your base, because this is so thick, it is not very easy to blend at all, so you will be blending that base on. I know that Nikki Tutorials uses these a lot, and she uses her like beauty blender to just kind of tap it out and blend it quicker. I've tried that too. It does kind of thin out the base a lot more, so it kind of makes it like less thick, and as a result doesn't grab onto shadows as well, but it is easier to blend on top of. And then there's my method of using them, which is just using my finger, patting it on there, and I think the warmth of your finger really does help them to blend. But so I will finish these up and then not buy them again. But yeah, I've just kind of grown my opinion on these. I do think that they're very good and they do what they say they're gonna do, which is really make your eyeshadows that much more pigmented. Like Nikki Tutorials is amazing at using adjectives, but it's not like this cure-all, it's gonna make your eyeshadow go from like this to this. It doesn't do that. Honestly, cream highlighters in general are a bit more high maintenance than powder highlighters, which is why I'm not a full cream highlighter convert yet. I do still use powder highlighters. I just want them to like look natural, and cream highlighters really do melt into the skin, but they just take a lot more finessing to get there. But probably the most high maintenance cream highlighter is the Farsali Jelly Beam. It truly does like melt into the cheekbone. It never looks like you're wearing something that's like layered on top of your skin. It doesn't look like it's sitting on top. It really just like fuses. Much as I love this though, she's difficult. Every different application method with this one, I've tried sponge, I've tried brush. Really the only thing that works for me is using my finger, which I don't love doing all the time, which is why I don't use this one as often as I would like to. But that's really the best way to make sure that everything blends well and doesn't move around the foundation you've got underneath it. Also, just like by merit of packaging, reaching into here, especially if you have nails on, is difficult and it gets under your fingernails, and that's why I just like don't love using this one. But the actual result is beautiful. It's just the process that's just like, ugh. Hands down, my favorite lip gloss formula is the Fenty Beauty Gloss Bombs, and Fenty Glow, the original Fenty Glow can do no wrong, but the Diamond Milk one, it's this beautiful, like, clear white gloss with like beautiful silver micro glitter in there. It does not look aggressively glittery on your lips, just plain juicy. It's however, she's a white clear gloss, and the first time I used this one, I was like, I'll just put it on top of my lips. What could go wrong? No matter what, any type of gloss that is clear or like light colored like this, it's gonna pick up the base color of whatever you're putting on top of it. As much as I love layering this one on top of like even like nude lipsticks, or even like nude lipsticks, this will pick up the color and it'll slowly turn your lip gloss like light pink, which is gross. So really, the only way I use this one now is putting it onto my finger. You do get that beautiful, juicy, like wet looking gloss. Then you have a sticky finger. That's what she said. So for me, because the Fenty Glow Gloss, this is just something I can use without a mirror. Like I can swipe this on in public and not worry about it at all. But the Diamond Milk one, I have to do this specific technique to get it to not like color my lip gloss bright pink, which makes it like less user-friendly than you would expect from any other lip gloss, which is just kind of the name of the game with these clear types of lip glosses. I've been doing it to preserve the beautiful like diamondness of the gloss, but I end up with this. I have a really complicated relationship with Tarte Shape Tape. Tarte Shape Tape. I used to think this was the best concealer ever. I now believe that the Too Faced Born This Way concealer is the best ever because it's pretty much the same level of coverage. It just like blends easier and looks better. Dries down a lot quicker than I would enjoy, so I kind of have to work very fast with putting this one on. I can't just like take my time blending out things. I have to like put it on, blend out the under eyes, put it on again to any of the areas I want to conceal, and then blend that out. Otherwise, it'll just become unmovable. While it is very full coverage, I feel like you can really see it on the skin. So the Too Faced one, I can wear that all over my face as a like foundation substitute. Whereas this, there's clear like gaps of where the coverage is and where the coverage is not. So I feel like I can't really diffuse this one as smoothly all over the face. It's great for covering up zits. Like this will yeet your acne out of the building, but it doesn't look
Seamless.
It doesn't look flawless. It doesn't look perfect. It just looks like concealer. I've always thought of the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette as something that should be something I reach for very often just based on the color scheme, because like look how beautiful, because it's like warm tones, there's a lot of neutrals in here, there's a lot of really beautiful shimmers, but I don't really think to reach for it as often as I should, just because I feel like it is more high maintenance than your typical eyeshadow palette. So Modern Renaissance for me is something I can reach for, fail safe, and just like use it regularly. Whereas this, the mattes are great, they're very dry, but they blend super easily and they just like do their job. The standard shimmers are also really great. I do think that they perform best with either a finger or a very, very wet brush. They are a bit more high maintenance and a bit more tightly pressed than your typical shimmer, but they have this beautiful like glittery effect. And the topper shades and the glitter, those are very high maintenance and you do have to use them. Honestly, I think either with a finger or with glitter glue, that's the best way to get like the most beautiful results. So as much as this color scheme really inspires me, all the looks I theorize with it are using some of the more high maintenance shades, and it's just like sometimes I'm like, I'd rather not today. So I love this one. It is a bit more high maintenance. I think Huda's palette's like the new nude one, or even the rose gold palette, that one has some more difficult to use shades that really do give a beautiful result when you work with them. It's just sometimes a bit more effort to get there, and sometimes I'm not willing to do that because I'm lazy. My favorite ever no-brainer loose powder is the Laura Mercier Translucent Loose Setting Powder. So when they came out with the Translucent Glow, I was like, oh,
Yes.
the way they marketed this one was basically as the same thing as the translucent setting powder, but with a more dewy approach. So I thought it was going to be very similar to the Hourglass Veil powder.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
This is like a very subtle loose highlighter. So one time I put this one all over my face and I looked insane. There were pores and there were wrinkles I did not know I had. It really is something that you have to use very precisely. So I even created and marketed a specific brush to use with this one. I don't necessarily think you have to use the brush with it. It does help a lot, but if you have a very, very fluffy powder brush like this, I think you'll be just fine. It does have also a slight tint to it, so while the translucent powder you can really just dust anywhere and it blends out really well, this one does have a tiny bit of color to it. Take the whole brush and I'll coat it with a little bit of powder and dust off pretty much all the powder that I put onto the brush and just like lightly glaze across the cheeks. So I'll put it on my cheeks first, and then whatever's left on the brush across my forehead, a little bit on my chin, and it gives a very subtle glow, like a very, limited payoff for the amount of effort and like finessing you have to do with this one to get it to look nice and natural on your skin. The effect is minimal, and sometimes I'm like, that's just too much work for too little glow. But it's really great if you do know that you need to set your foundation in, like you know that you have oilier skin, or you know this foundation is a bit more on the dewy side, and you still want to retain that nice like glowy skin, but you also don't want your makeup to like slip slide around throughout the day. But otherwise, if I'm like not willing to put in the effort, I'll just like not set my face at all, and then I have nice glowy skin. It's delightful. The Becca Skin Love Glow Glaze Stick. This is a cream stick highlighter, but it's not really a highlighter, it's just kind of a face gloss. And glosses in general, whether it's for the eyes or for the face, are just by nature very high maintenance. But you can't really apply this from the stick to your face because it's just gonna create this nice stripe of like, oh, the product is gone. Cool. Really, the way I use this one is kind of similar to the Fenty Diamond Glow Gloss, which is I put it on my finger. I'll just kind of rub it around. It just creates a very soft, like subtle shine. It looks nice and like wet and natural on the skin. I love this one on both bare skin or very, very like leg coverage tinted moisturizer or foundation. It just looks beautiful and wet and natural. And I think that's beautiful. It's just like a lot of effort. It's not easy looking this dewy. Finally, this last one is a product that I honestly don't even like that much because it's so high maintenance and there's so many steps I have to take to get it to work for me that I'm just like, no. The Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Foundation is probably really, really good for people who have oily skin. On me, I actually used to like this one. Like, I didn't love it. It wasn't my holy grail, but it still looked nice on the skin. And now my skin's dry and it looks like I'm dead. But even back then when I had more like tolerable skin that could work with this foundation, I would have to work super, super fast. It's kind of like the Tarte Shape Tape, but even faster drying down. It really does dry down super quick. So I would do one cheek at a time, which is, now that I think about it, a lot more effort than I should be putting in for a foundation like this. But I'd like pump it out onto my hand, do one cheek, blend it out, do the other cheek, blend that out, do the forehead, blend that out, and then do the nose and the chin and blend that together. So I'm actually probably going to be decluttering this very soon just because I have not reached for this one in a while. And even though it is a really great mixer foundation for making things a bit more like mattified or more full coverage, I have other things I could use for that. So, alright guys, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed some of my top 12 most high maintenance products. I do still love most of these and I do still use them, but it takes a special amount of patience and a special kind of day for me to use them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of weird idea for a video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know down below in the comments if you have any products that are like this. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Also follow me down below on Instagram to see makeup looks like this. Posted all throughout summer when I have the will to get out of bed. And if you made it to the very end of this video, you get le bonus meme. I speak French, bitches. Goodbye.